Fight Time Network.
Welcome back to Fight Time Profiles. And this afternoon, we have Cheyenne Bowers. She is the LFA interim flyweight champion, 5-1 as a professional, and fighting out of Next Edge Academy in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. How are you doing today?
Good. I'm doing awesome. How are you?
We're doing great here. So where did you grow up?
I actually grew up just across the border in St. James, Minnesota, super tiny town, so not too far from home.
Gotcha. What is your favorite strike or submission?
Ooh, submission, that's probably pretty easy. I favor the armbar. Strike, I would say my overhand left is probably my favorite. I like to switch stance a lot, and I really like throwing that overhand from the southpaw side.
So throughout your amateur career and into your professional career, what is your favorite experience so far?
I think regardless of like which fight, my favorite part is always like afterwards, win or lose, being able to go out and hang out with all the fans. I think my parents have only missed one fight, so being able to see all of
Oh,
them
wow.
out there afterwards, and we're all able to celebrate and just kind of like be grateful that for the most part, I've never had any severe injuries after a fight, so that I'm healthy, happy, surrounded by family.
So what or who inspires you the most in being a fighter?
Ooh. I think overall, I take a lot of inspiration just from like all the women in my life in general. My family's full of a lot of stubborn, hard-willed women, and pretty much we've all gone down these different paths in life, but we've all succeeded regardless of what that path is, and just knowing that we're creating a future for all of my nieces, and all of them to have a better future, and then aside from that, just knowing like I have to work for a better future for them. My husband is literally the greatest human I've ever met in my life. And um after my first fight, he knew. He was like, this is not a one and done situation. He's like, this is what you're meant for.
Who is your favorite athlete of all time? Any sport?
But
Mhm.
Kevin Garnett back in the day, like when I was in middle
Ooh,
school, was my jam. I was a big basketball kid growing up.
okay,
Um,
G.
Yeah, and so,
Awesome.
if I had to think about like who I like really idolized overall in life, he was definitely somebody up there. More recently, I would say, man, Tracy Cortez, Rose Namajunas,
Mhm.
all those girls that have just kind of evolved into the sport and really like took on this persona of strong women.
So you're actually ranked number 77 in the world rankings at flyweight.
Dang, I went up more recently.
Yeah, looking good. But do you feel that's an accurate spot in the rankings for you, or do you think you should be a little higher up?
Um, I don't read too much into the rankings. I know there's still some girls in there that like haven't fought or they've retired recently. So like,
Mhm.
you pull some of them out and yeah, that probably bumps me up a little bit. Um, to me, I use the rankings of like, okay, who can I fight next to build my way up to the top, but I don't really necessarily care where I'm at in them. Obviously that changes, enter the UFC, you want to get into those rankings so that you can start working your way up to a title shot. But yeah, I would assume I'm probably closer to like that 50 mark if you start looking at some of the girls that haven't fought in a while. Um, I actually posted kind of recently about there's some girls in the UFC that are like, 5-1, 6-1. I know there's a couple girls that are like 3-3, 3-2.
Mhm.
I'm like, man, like what are they doing that I haven't done to get their shot and I haven't gotten mine? So I got a
Right.
little bitter for like 24 hours after watching some fights, and I was like, nope, it's fine. Like I'm just, this is my path, my journey. It'll help better prepare me for when that answer or that call is answered. So I do think I probably sit a little bit higher, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's just comes down to who's standing across from me that night in the fight. So
So you're actually coming off a round one submission on September 20th. Solid at LFA 193.
yeah.
Can you run us through that fight a little bit?
Yeah, it obviously went way quicker than I expected it to. Our game plan was to stay on the feet, I know I'm a grappler at heart, and we assumed that at some point it would get to the ground or in the clinch or some situation like that. So he's like, don't rush it, don't force it. He's like, we've evolved my striking enough that he's like, let's stand on the feet. Surprise her a little bit. She wasn't expecting that. And I have a tendency to throw naked kicks. And so she did, she just stepped in on one of my low kicks and my foot slipped out from under me and I tumbled back. And I was like, well, this is not how I wanted to get to the ground. But we ended up there. And, you know, I didn't think she would follow me down. I assumed she was going to ask me to stand right back up. But when she sat down into my guard, I was like, hey, this is exactly where I want things to play out.
Right. That's
So,
crazy.
um, yeah, I could hear her corner telling her to stand up, but I kind of wrapped around both of her arm, and then for some reason she chose to flop back over, and at that point I just had to hip in and finish it.
So what have you been up to since your win? You got any talk right now about the title fight unification?
I will be fighting very beginning of 2025. I'll get to unify the belt. I'm pretty pumped about that. Pretty much I took like 3 or 4 days to just kind of come down from the fight, relax, let my body kind of heal from just the rigors of camp, and then got right back into things. I always let myself kind of, I'm still training, but the intensity goes down for a few weeks. And then once we got the call and got the contract signed, it was right back into full steam ahead for another full camp.
Again, y'all, this is Cheyenne Bowers. That's another Fight Time profile for you guys. See y'all next time.
Thank you so much.
Fight Time Network.